Turn off your lights. Make sure your doors and windows are locked. Things are about to get spooky. I Was Haunted by the Opposite of Black-Eyed Children by Skyfully. To preface this, I'm a 24-year-old female currently living in North Carolina, but mainly split my year of birth through 13 moving back and forth from West Virginia, where my dad's family is from, to Iowa, where my mother's family is from. This also requires some backstory. Now, typically you assume that living in the Appalachia is where all this would have began, but oddly enough, I had experienced what I can only call supernatural experiences as far back as I can remember, even starting in Ohio. I began to speak very clearly and early in life. By 2, I was able to hold almost a complete conversation due to the fact that my parents never baby talked with me. Because of this, I began to ask questions, some annoying little kid questions, but some my parents had no real answers for. I would ask, "Why can't I use a big girl cup?" In the same sentence, I would ask, "Why is there a blue ball in the corner of my room at night?" Most of the time, my parents would shrug it off by saying, "You were just having a dream." And at that age, why would I push further? When I was 3 or 4, we moved into a 2-story house in Ohio. I wasn't typically a kid who was scared of the dark, but in that house, I began to demand that my father would read to me or stay in my room until I fell asleep. For a while, this seemed to work, but my parents did not want me to get in the habit of needing an adult in the room just to fall asleep, so they bought me a nightlight. Yes, the nightlight helped. I was still terrified. Not in my own room, but the hallway that I would see from my bunk bed. My bed was pushed up against the back wall with a window at the head of my bed. On the wall, directly across, was a double closet with double sliding doors. The rest of my room held my small foldable chair bed that I'm sure anyone born in the 2000s had along with my other things and toys. From the head of my bed laying flat, I could turn to my left and see partially out my window, where if I turned right, I could see directly out into the hallway, where my parents' bedroom was just out of view. This was the source of my fear. I refused to keep my door shut because I could constantly see and hear things in the hallway, and having the door shut kept me almost paranoid, as I could hear it but not see it. What I saw on a nightly basis after my parents had gone to bed was a full woman, seemingly soaked with water, pacing the hall while absolutely sobbing her eyes out. She never spoke or even looked up at me, but at a very young age, I knew this wasn't right. Who was she? Did my parents let her in? She's crying so loudly. How wasn't this waking my parents up? These questions plagued me every night, and I asked my parents about it and got the same response, that it was just a nightmare. In my parents' room, there was an old vanity with a mirror my mother kept covered up with a cloth. I had eventually demanded that the closer I got to it, the scareder I was. But because of this is where she hid candy and gum. One day, while she was asleep, I decided to try to steal a piece of gum. I went upstairs into her room, and while looking at the vanity, I swear to God I saw the woman who roamed the hall at night sitting in the mirror looking at me. I screamed and started crying, alerting my mother, who quickly ran into the room and threw a blanket, now fully covering the mirror, and promptly explained to never go into her room alone. The rest of the time at that house was a blur. I remember visiting my grandparents much more with my mom, who was just trying to get out of the house until we were ready to move. When I was 6, we moved back to West Virginia for the second time. We moved in a house 2 houses down from where my grandparents lived, and despite still seeing random orbs and apparitions, which I had become somewhat accustomed to, Not much happened, that is until we moved into the house directly next to my grandparents'. That house was built in the 30s and it showed, from the super thin glass to no central air or heat. Beyond that, the people who lived there before us weren't just certified hoarders, but left some very curious renovations. The house had been built into the side of a steep hill. It once had a back porch, but 4 plastered walls had been constructed around it, making it into a laundry room. There was no insulation, and the floor was so sensitive you had to walk a very certain path to ensure the wood would not just give out. With this, they enclosed an exterior window, making a window from my room look directly into this makeshift laundry room. Interesting things were also found throughout the house: a boarded-up fireplace, padlocks on the outside of bedroom doors, light switches far too high up for any child to reach, and the crawl space. The crawl space was the worst. To get to it, you had to go around the back of the house. Before moving in, my father took a crowbar to the padlock on the old wooden half door. There was no floor besides dirt, and it smelled of mildew. I feel like you're thinking, well, that's what a crawl space is, and you'd be correct. It was what was found inside that was the last straw for my parents to end up calling the cops on the previous tenants. The past owner had a lot of kids, more kids than they could handle. They had 6 kids, 2 parents, and a grandparent living in a 2-bedroom hoarder house. Apparently, they thought it was a great idea to make this crawl space a bedroom for their youngest boy. When we opened it, we found a bare mattress, a small desk, a few toys and crayons, and just sad drawings. Again, I like to reiterate, West Virginia's temperatures below freezing in the winter. Dirt floors that weren't flat, but on a slope. No power, and they had a 6-year-old boy living, most likely locked in. As soon as my parents realized what they were looking at, they had me go play at my grandparents' house until the cops came to document this. Once we finally got the house livable, we moved in. The layout was odd. As soon as you walked in, to the left was my parents' bedroom, which had a closet, which at some point was made into the smallest bedroom ever. To the right was the dining room, and if you walked past the dining room, there was a small room we used as an office because it was at some point a sunroom turned into an eternal room. Back in the dining room, if you kept going, you find the living room and then the kitchen. To the left of the kitchen was an odd walk-in pantry that led to the aforementioned makeshift laundry room. Back out to the living room, if you turn left, you find a crossroads, with a bathroom on your right and my bedroom on the left. Welcome to my bedroom. To the left was my light switch, too tall for me to reach. Mind you, no other light switch were like this. A bookshelf and my closet. To my right was my bed shoved into the corner against the wall that had the external window that actually just looked into the laundry room. Past my bedroom was an open walkway into my playroom. Immediately after moving in, I began to have actual nightmares, one where I was being stalked or chased. It wasn't long after that I began going to church with my grandmother. She was devoutly a Southern Baptist and lived in that area. Church was really one of the only activities available. Some part of me hoped that reading the Bible and praying would make it go away, but it didn't. Every night I would say my prayers, sing hymns, and read my Bible. I even slept with rosary my Catholic grandmother gave me, but it didn't stop him. Like clockwork, the knob of my closet would slowly fall out. It was solid metal, so it would still make a loud clank noise as it hit the carpet. I would lay there, completely still, yet my eyes fixed on the door. The door, which was hard to open, considering the carpet in front of it was over its threshold, would open. Inside would be a boy. I vividly remember him. His head was too large for his body. His hair short, yet had greasy black bangs. In fact, every part of him looked greasy. He stayed huddled in a ball, but turned to look at me, and oh my god, those eyes. Eyes twice or triple the size they should be, and while every part of him was black, his eyes were almost a blinding white. His facial expression wasn't in malice, but almost a cry for help. I remember being so terrified I couldn't move. This was no nightmare or sleep paralysis though. Multiple times I would sit up trying to examine him further or get the courage to run out of my room. I would beg in tears to not sleep in my room. I had told my mother about it so many times she was actually becoming concerned either for my mental health or that I was somehow right. One night, I was allowed to stay at my grandparents' house, so my mom slept in my room, and she saw it. She saw him. Besides myself, my parents were not religious, but spiritual. After she encountered him, she contacted my godparents, who came along with their priest to bless the room and house. After that, things got worse. Physical things started to happen, like books falling off shelves and me waking up with bruises and scratches. We couldn't take it anymore. Finally, it was bad enough that we moved in with my grandparents in Ohio until we could find an apartment. Years later, my mother admitted to me she was and felt everything too. She just never wanted to admit to it and scare me. Once I got away from it, it doesn't torment me like it used to. I can sleep well and have not needed a special routine since moving out. But sometimes, I swear, if I'm back in West Virginia, I can feel him right inside a closet door to this day. The rich and powerful fled to bunkers to escape the aliens that were abducting billions of people. It was only emerging to a burning world now overrun with demons that they realized they missed out on the rapture. My 2 creepiest experiences by Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I've been a lurker on several subs for a while, and I've been a fan of Mr. Nightmare, Corpse Husband, etc. But I never thought I'd have stories of my own to share. They're not as wild as some of the insane encounters I've heard and read, but when you're the one living through it, it hits different. These 2 stories will with no doubt be met with skepticism, but I swear they're true. Whether you believe it or not is obviously up to you. Story 1. This happened about 3 years ago, back when I was 15. My best friend, let's call him M, and I had this ritual of going for evening walks around our town. It was one of our ways to unwind and catch up, venting about school or just talking. Our usual route took us over this bridge that crossed some train tracks. It's not a creepy bridge by any means. It's wide, well lit with streetlights, and we've walked over it a million times without a second thought. Nothing ever felt off until that night. It was a cool summer evening, probably around 10 or 11 p.m. The sky was clear and it was quiet, like always. We were halfway across the bridge, mid-conversation, when one of the streetlights above us started flickering. Not a subtle flicker, but that aggressive strobe-like kind of flickering that makes you stop and look. Then it just died. Completely. The other lights along the bridge stayed on, so it wasn't a power outage or anything. Just that one light right above us went out. Em and I stopped walking. We didn't say anything at first, just exchanged a glance until Em said, "Okay, that's creepy as fuck," or something like that. But the air felt heavy. I know that sounds cliche, but it's the only way I can describe it. It wasn't just darker because of the light going out. It was like the atmosphere shifted, like we crossed some invisible line into a place we weren't supposed to be. My skin prickled, and I swear I felt eyes on me, like something was watching us from somewhere close. I couldn't see anything out of place, but the feeling was so strong it made my stomach churn. Then we heard it. A scream. It came from below the bridge, down where the train tracks run. It echoed off the concrete pillars and steel rails, so loud and sharp it felt like it pierced right through me. At first, I thought it was a human, a woman, maybe in pain or panic. But it didn't sound right. It was too distorted, like something was trying to sound human but couldn't quite get it right. The best way I can describe it is like a woman's scream, but warped. Like it was being filtered through something unnatural. Not animalistic or mechanical, just wrong. The only way to really know how it sounded was to have been there. The scream lasted maybe 5 seconds, but it felt like forever. Em and I looked at each other. His eyes were wide, and I could tell he was feeling the same thing I was. Whatever made that sound wasn't supposed to be there. As soon as the scream stopped, the silence was worse. It was like the world was holding its breath, waiting for something else to happen. We didn't stick around to find out what. We ran. I don't think I've ever run that fast in my life. We didn't stop until we were far enough away that the bridge was out of sight, panting and shaking in the middle of the well-lit street. When we finally caught our breath, Em just said, "What the hell was that?" I had no idea. My mind went straight to the Wendigo and Skinwalker stories. The thing is, those legends and stories are for America, and we're not. We're not even close. We didn't talk much after that. We walked home as fast as we could, constantly looking over our shoulders. The next day, I checked the news, social media, everything. No reports of missing people, no injured animals, no nothing. Our town is small, and stuff like that would have made waves. Plus, we don't have big predators around here. No bears, no wolves, nothing that could have made a sound like that. And violent crime? Practically non-existent. But that scream, it wasn't just some random noise. It felt personal, like it was meant for us to hear. Like we stumbled into something's territory and it wanted us to know. Em and I don't talk about it much anymore, and he always downplays it when he tells it to others. But when it's just us and I bring it up, I can see in his eyes that he remembers it just like I do. I still get chills thinking about it, and I can't help but wonder what was down there under the bridge that night. Story 2. The second one might be even weirder. It happened 4 or 5 years ago. I was in my late teens and I used to sleep with my bedroom door open. I was always scared that someone would come and kidnap me in the night, so it'd be easier to call out to my parents if the door was open. Luckily, that has never happened. One night, I woke up for no reason. No noise, no bad dreams, nothing. I just rolled over in bed and faced the doorway. Something made me open my eyes, like an instinct I didn't know I had. And there, sitting in a squat in the hallway just outside my room, was a boy. At first, I thought it was my younger brother. He was about 10 at the time, and it wouldn't have been totally weird for him to be up at night. But the longer I looked, the more I realized this wasn't him. This kid was blue. Not pale, not shadowed, but blue. Like his skin was turned some unnatural shade. His eyes were what got me, though. They were huge, way too big for a human face, and pitch black, like shark eyes. And they weren't empty, they reflected the dim light from the moon. He was just sitting there, staring at me. Then, slowly, he raised one hand and waved. It was a slow wave, and it went on for quite a bit. My brain immediately went to sleep paralysis. I read about it on Reddit, and it's happened to me once before. And it seemed like the logical explanation. But here's the thing. I couldn't move. I shifted in bed, blinked a few times, even pitched my arm to make sure I was awake. I was. My body wasn't locked up. I wasn't dreaming. This was real. The weirdest part? I wasn't scared. I should have been freaking out, right? A blue kid with creepy eyes waving at me in the middle of the night? But I felt calm. Like whatever this thing was, it wasn't there to hurt me. It felt like it was just watching, waiting for me to notice it. I don't remember what happened next. I know that sounds like a cop-out, but I generally don't. 1 second, I was staring at this kid, and the next, it was morning. I woke up feeling fine, but every detail of that encounter was burned into my brain. The blue skin, the eyes, the wave. It was so vivid, it didn't feel like a dream at all. I checked the hallway the next day, half expecting to find some trace of whatever it was. Nothing. No footprints, no weird marks, nothing out of place. I asked my brother if he'd been up that night, and he looked at me like I was crazy. My parents didn't hear or see anything either. I never seen the blue boy again, and I now sleep with my door closed. I've been sitting on these stories for years because I don't know how to talk about them without sounding like I'm losing it. But the more I lurk on this sub, and the more I realize I'm not alone in having weird, unexplainable experiences. I don't know if they were ghosts, demons, some kind of glitch in reality, or just my brain playing tricks on me. All I know is that both times it felt like I crossed paths with something that I wasn't meant for me to see. Like I accidentally peeked behind the curtain of the world, you know? Baby, there's no monster under your bed, I keep telling my child. I couldn't tell him about the one that hides in his closet and how it only comes out when mommy forgets to take her medication. And with that, our time together is coming to an end. If you have a story you'd like me to narrate, whether true or fictional, you can send it my way 3 different ways. All the links, including the ones to my socials, are down below for you guys. I'd like to thank both of the writers who let me read their childhood ghost stories this evening. The 1930s home definitely had my jaw on the ground when I read it. To lock a poor child in a crawl space. I'm so happy your parents called the cops, and I hope that they got those kids taken away. It's absolutely horrible. I am happy that the hauntings have seemed to have ended since your childhood. Though, if you go anywhere near those mountains, it seems like they like to keep an eye on you. And then our second story, that scream I assumed was a coyote because their screams can sound like a woman screaming. But they're not in North America, and to my knowledge, coyotes are only in North America, but I could be wrong. I'm just happy you got away from there, because whatever it was, probably was not a good idea to be there. And the little boy thing standing in your doorway, just waving at you, So bizarre and creepy. I'm just happy both times turned out well for him. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you probably have noticed I don't really do themed videos, and that's because it's such a pain to try to get all the stories you need together, and sometimes it feels like you're forcing a story in that doesn't really fit. Though after narrating these 2 stories, I realized I had the perfect theme for you guys: childhood ghost stories. Though paranormal doesn't really do well on my channel, so I didn't name it that. But I do hope you enjoyed both these bizarre childhood stories. One of the odd things I think of whenever I hear a padlock being on a door is the fact that downstairs we have a 1-bedroom and it actually has a padlock bracket thing on the outside door and it has stickers on the door, so we call it the bad kids room. No clue why there's a bracket on the outside door to lock someone in, and I'm not going to ask too many questions about it. I think it's safer that way. If you enjoyed these stories, hit that like button and make sure it feels it. If you're new, please subscribe and turn that pretty little bell to all notifications. And if you're able to, please hype this video and help us reach some new people. And I would absolutely love a comment. Please put VIP if you got this far. And what'd you think of these stories? What kind of stories you like in the future? I've got werewolves and stalkers as my 2 things being asked for, and I think I've got a couple things lined up for both of those. If you're listening on the podcast and are able to, please leave a review and a comment. If you're willing to help this channel and podcast grow, please share it with anyone who might enjoy it. It helps quite a bit. If you're willing to help in a more financial way, I do have Patreon and memberships where you get a few bonuses for it. But if you'd like to do more of a one-time thing, I do have PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, and super things. But as always guys, thank you for watching and listening. It always has and always will mean the world to me. Heck, I didn't even know if I'd get this video out for you guys. My computer was down for half the week, so I worked really hard to get this out for you. So I hope you enjoyed. Sleep tight and don't let 42 bite.